What is going on, guys? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another movie review. So, last night I had the opportunity to see Walt Disney Pictures' The Lion King. Now, this is the 2019 remake that hits theaters today when you guys are watching this review. I got to see it last night, and so let's just dive into some of my thoughts on the movie. First up, I think it's important to kind of take a look at the Critic review rating. So if you take a look here, it is actually sitting at a 56% critical rating, yet a 90% audience rating, which I think is a little weird. It's a little bit weird to me that a movie is so split. We've seen this a lot, I think, recently. I think the biggest example has been Venom, with super low critical rating, yet really high audience score. I think definitely kind of lean more towards the critical rating because I think what a lot of the critics are looking for in this movie was maybe something a little bit new or something different than the original, just not a one-to-one remake, but they wanted something new, which not to say that The Lion King 2019 is a one-to-one remake. It does enough to build upon the original, and it is 30 minutes longer than the original. Personally, I just think that the what the critics are wanting just wasn't in Jon Favreau, who directed the movie. I don't think that was in Favreau's vision to change the story or to do anything like that. Also, it is a little bit weird at first to get used to talking animals. If you saw the Jungle Book 2016, which Favreau also directed, it's a little weird at first, and I've heard the term thrown around as the uncanny valley. That does relay here in this movie, and you do have to retrain your brain a little bit to say, hey, these animals are talking. That's what I'm gonna have to learn. This is what I'm watching for the next 2 hours or so. Um, it's a little bit weird at first, singing and talking animals. But I think Favreau did a really, really good job with how the balance of, hey, we're going to show this animal singing. You can clearly see that it's this animal singing and talking, but they also do a little bit of, we're going to move the camera a lot. It's going to be a little bit of a blur with the motion. And then sometimes we are going to have wider shots, and then sometimes you just hear the singing, and they're not even, like, the animals themselves aren't, like, moving their mouths or anything, which I think actually works. At first I was like, okay, so this is how they're getting around it, but it works, so I'm fine with it. Diving into some of my other thoughts regarding the movie, I think that the music and the score was absolutely perfect. Obviously, you have to have James Earl Jones return as Mufasa. You cannot replace him, and thankfully they did. And then adding new cast members for this variation of The Lion King, Donald Glover and Beyonce as Simba and Nala were absolutely fantastic. I don't want to even butcher the gentleman who plays Scar, but he is absolutely fantastic in this movie, and I was a little worried that I wasn't gonna like him. It was great. And then I think Timon and Pumbaa, are portrayed by Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen, absolutely steal the show. Once they get on screen, you'll know why. They're perfect in their roles. And then regarding the score, Hans Zimmer returns to do the score, who also did the score for the original film, as well as some other films, like most recently, like the X-Men Dark Phoenix, and more notably, The Dark Knight. Now, as I mentioned earlier, some of the outstanding cast members are Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen with this movie, and my God, do they absolutely kill it. I don't think that there's really any casting issues that I had. Maybe if I had to critique one little thing would probably be the young girl who voices younger Nala. Wasn't super sold on the voice acting personally, but then it was okay because obviously usually when younger Nala is on screen, younger Simba is on screen, and the young boy who plays or I guess voice acts for young Simba absolutely kills it, and I loved it. And so a little bit of bad with a lot of good kind of weighed itself out. Now, just critiquing the movie a little bit, I read in an interview that Jon Favreau came out, I believe it was at the premiere, and said that pretty much everything that you're about to see is completely generated by a computer, which blew me away, that we are at this point where we can recreate animals and scenes and all sorts of stuff, to where like CGI has grown so much, and that blew me away. But he said that there was only one shot in the entire film that was done with a camera, and I kind of went through the entire film, and while I'm sure I can probably guess which shot it was, I'm not confident in that answer, which I think is really good, to say how well that they did do this film. There were never any moments where I was like, okay, yeah, definitely a CG animal. But there were some times where certain animals would walk, or the lighting didn't really line up. I think maybe I'm just being a little bit hard. Maybe it's just the fact that it was at the beginning of the movie and I'm like trying to nitpick everything here and there. But I can't complain. I really can't. So at the end of the day, how do I feel about The Lion King? Really positive. I was blown away. I felt very like good going into the movie, and I felt even better going out of the movie. Obviously, going back to the ratings, when I started to see the critic ratings, kind of scared me a little bit. But then, as I started to hear more and more about it, I wasn't worried about it. How bad can it be? It's The Lion King after all. The Lion King is such a classic story which is being brought to life with the new modern day technology. Director Jon Favreau has done an absolutely amazing job. And the entire time that I'm watching this movie, I'm just thinking, wow, this is breathtaking. If I could say one thing to this movie, it's you're breathtaking. Now, the last thing that I want to say is that I know definitely within the last couple months, with the release of Aladdin and now The Lion King, and then now we're seeing trailers for Mulan, a lot of people are really questioning, well, why does Disney need to do live action remakes of their classic films, of the animated films? Why are they doing this? Is it just a cash grab or whatever? And the way that I've always viewed it is that, sure, we grew up with these movies. My generation, our generation, who's watching this video, we grew up with these films. Sure, we love them. We don't want them to mess them up, so we critique them very hard. And I don't think that's fair to the movie, because that's not, I don't, at least I don't think that's what Disney's trying to do, is just a cash grab or anything like that. I think these movies are dated. The original, I believe, came out in what, 1992? Let me scroll down here and look real quick. 95, excuse me. 95. I think Aladdin was 92. 95. So it's been quite a while since the original movie came out. It's been almost 25 years since The Lion King came out. And that technology is dated in how they originally made the movie. And looking back at this movie, the one that's coming out today, it's going to be dated in 25 years, and there are going to be new, better ways for us to be able to do this and to make movies and things like that. So what Disney is doing is they are essentially breathing new life into these stories for a new generation. And that's at least how I view it, because, well, this might be our 5th or 10th or 20th or whatever screening of this specific story of The Lion King or Aladdin or Mulan or whatever Disney remake it is. I think the big thing to take away is, like, there might be a little kid in the theater with you, and it's the first time that they're seeing the story. It's the first time that they are experiencing the Circle of Life and Hakuna Matata and the classic songs that are, again, being revived and had new life breathed into them. Excuse me. That's my little rant on that. So overall, definitely go see The Lion King. I had a great time with it. I actually got to experience it in IMAX, which I believe has a wider aspect ratio. And for this film to look as good as it does, you want to see it to its full potential. Not a sponsor, but I would love it if IMAX would sponsor me. So that's pretty much it for me, guys. Definitely go and see The Lion King. If I had to rate it, on a scale of 0 to 100, I'd say it's like what it should be critically or audience-wise, probably like a 90 to 92. I don't really think that you can improve it at all, really. And I absolutely enjoyed it. So I want to thank you all for watching my review. Hopefully we will be doing more of these regularly, and I will see you guys in the next review. Have a good one.